Chapter 8. Mr. Klutz puckers up. When Mr. Klutz got back from the hospital, we were all relieved to hear that he hadn't broken any bones. He was limping, though, and told us he would have to use a cane for a week. We were afraid he might call off the chocolate party, but he was more excited about it than ever. Everybody in the whole school got involved doing math problems so we could win the party, even the teachers. During library period, Mrs. Rupee asked us questions like, if the library had 100 books and you checked out 50 of them, how many would be left in the library? During music period, Mr. Hind asked us questions like, if the school only has 10 trumpets and 6 kids sign up to take trumpet lessons, how many more kids can sign up for trumpet lessons? Miss Daisy made a big tote board so we would know how many math problems we had completed. Every day she tallied up all the math problems on her tote board. It wasn't long before the school had finished 1 million math problems. Andrea did the problem that put us over the top, of course. I hate her. On the night of the chocolate party, you should have seen the gym. They had music and games, and tables were set up with chocolate chip cookies, chocolate cake, chocolate muffins, and even broccoli covered with chocolate. Yuck! But by the end of the party, I thought I was going to throw up. It was the greatest night of my life. At 9 o'clock, somebody came in with this big pig on a leash. I don't know where they got it. The zoo, I guess. We all watched as the pig was brought over to Mr. Klutz. He wrinkled his face up and acted like he was all disgusted. Mr. Klutz, that is not the pig. When he bent over and kissed the pig on the lips, the whole school went crazy. Even the pig freaked out, oinking and squealing and running around the gym until the grown-ups were able to catch it. It was a real Kodak moment, if you ask me. Chapter 9. I pledge allegiance to Mr. Klutz. I want to congratulate all you kids, Mr. Klutz said over the loudspeaker on Monday morning during announcements. You did it. 1 million math problems. That's quite an accomplishment. See, all you needed was a little incentive. This has been such a huge success that I have decided to challenge you again, he continued. Election Day is coming up in November. This is a very important day in America. I think every child in this school should write an essay about what it means to have elections. And if you achieve this goal by Election Day, I will climb the flagpole in front of the school and recite the Pledge of Allegiance when I get to the top. I hope he doesn't hurt himself again, said Emily. I'll write my essay during recess, said Andrea, who always does everything the second any grown-up tells her to, instead of waiting as long as possible, like a normal kid. Couldn't we just write one essay for the whole class? I asked Miss Daisy. That would be a lot easier. Mr. Klutz's voice came out of the loudspeaker again. I know some of you will ask if you can write a class essay. The answer is no. If you want to see me shimmy up the flagpole, each student must write their own essay. That's my final offer. Take it or leave it. And I'll tell you what, when we have all the essays, I will send them to the president to read. Have a nice day. The thought of the President of the United States reading our personal words was pretty cool, I had to admit. Everybody finished their Election Day essays so quickly, we were done a week before Election Day. Some kids, like Andrea, even wrote 2 essays. On the morning of Election Day, all the students and teachers gathered on the grass in front of the school. Mr. Klutz came out of the door. He was wearing a red, white, and blue Uncle Sam costume. He also had on sneakers and one of those harnesses that lumberjacks use to climb trees. His leg was all better, and he didn't walk with a cane anymore. We all let out a roar when Mr. Klutz started to shinny up the flagpole. I was a little afraid that he was going to fall and break his leg or something, but he didn't. For a principal, he was a good climber. When he got to the top, we all recited the Pledge of Allegiance with him. Then everybody let out a cheer. When he was sliding down the flagpole, Mr. Klutz got his foot caught in the rope that holds the flag. As he was trying to get his foot loose, his hand slipped and he fell. The next thing we knew, Mr. Klutz was hanging upside down from the flagpole. His Uncle Sam hat fell off. Everybody gasped. Mr. Klutz was just hanging there, halfway up the flagpole, like he was another flag or something. It would have been the funniest thing in the history of the world if we didn't honestly think Mr. Klutz was going to fall and land on his head. "Help!" he shouted. "My foot is caught in the rope." "Quick, get some pads from the gym for him to land on," yelled Mrs. Roopy, the school librarian. "Call the fire department," yelled Mrs. Cooney, the nurse. Everybody was running around like crazy, and nobody knew what to do. It looked like Mr. Klutz would have to just hang there from the flagpole all day. "He'll figure out a way out of this," I told the kids in my class. "When the blood rushes to his head, it helps him think." But it was Miss Daisy who came up with a great idea. She went over to the bottom of the flagpole where the rope is tied. She took the knot out and held both hands. She held out both ends of the rope tight. Then, slowly and carefully, she began to let some rope and lower Mr. Klutz down the flagpole, just like he was a regular flag. When he reached the bottom, the teachers caught him and loosened the rope from his foot. He was okay, he said, except for the rope burns on his leg. "Hooray for Miss Daisy!" our class cheered. After he was back on the ground, Mr. Klutz got up, brushed himself off, and walked up the front steps like it was totally normal for a principal to hang upside down from a flagpole. Mr. Klutz is nuts.